zip down his pants, and whip out the thing that should not be named. How's it? Coming from a small place, a small town in Africa, moving to a big city like Dublin in Ireland for my college life and my college years, you know, it's bound to be a big change. You know, different people, different situations, different circumstances, and ultimately, here today, I'm going to be talking about that big city experience, moving from a small place. Obviously, it's a bit shocking, but you know, it comes with a couple cool stories. Now, these stories in particular aren't necessarily cool, however, they are two of the stories in which I've enjoyed the most, purely out of the humor side, not particularly out of knowledge, you know, experience, anything positive completely, just really the chaos and craziness of moving to a big city and experiencing big city things, where previously I was used to the most exciting thing out of my day being a fly going past my left ear rather closely. So obviously I've moved to Dublin. That's my new living situation. That's where I lived for my college years. And in my first year in Dublin, I've, you know, had a couple very interesting experiences. Now, funnily enough, the majority of them have occurred on public transport. Public transport, again, not something I'm completely used to, however I am now. But going into it, I was not used to it. Naturally, you're put around a bunch of people who you have no idea who they are, ultimately allowing for you to meet a whole bunch of characters and different sorts of people. So these experiences are not particularly positive experiences, however, funny nonetheless. So it begins with the first story. I've just come back from a late dinner with some family friends. I drove out on the bus for about an hour south of Dublin. I have a lovely roast dinner, meet these great people I haven't met in a while, well, seen in a while rather. And you know, it's an all-round good experience. You know, I'm chipper, I'm happy. I'm walking on the way back to the bus stop to get my bus to back into the center of Dublin where I live. So I get on the bus, my bus is late as per usual. I jump on, you know, I find a seat. It's late at night, there's seats ready. So I sit down, I have my headphones in, and I'm casually just listening to my music. I'm enjoying it, you know, I'm bopping along, grooving a bit, and then I see someone come sit next to me. So, obviously no issue, I'm not particularly fazed, you know, it's a bit strange considering the bus is pretty much empty and this person has decided to sit directly next to me. However, I'm not going to complain, it's not a big deal, what's the issue there? So I continue to listen to my music, not particularly paying attention to the person who's just sat next to me. However, all of a sudden I start to feel something. So I'm casually looking at my phone, and you know how you have a sixth sense? My sixth sense was telling me that this person was talking to me. So I kind of look, and I can feel that this guy has been talking to me this whole time. And instantly I get hit with the pongy aroma of alcohol from his breath directly into my nostrils, fueling my brain with energy all of a sudden. So, with that spike of confidence, spike of a bit of fear, to be completely honest with you, I take my headphone out and I proceed to hear some of the most interesting words I've heard in my life come out in such a short period of time. So I'm looking over at this man, fully in a suit. It's probably about 11 o'clock at night, clearly inebriated beyond belief. And as I take my headphone out, I hear some of the most interesting words. Slurred, of course, but the first words I hear upon me relieving my eardrum of the headphone and the glorious music I was listening to were, "Fuck the Jews." Now, I'm not a particularly, give me a second. I'm not a particularly political person, but this person, for some reason, had a big stick against the Jews. Now, naturally, I was confused straight off the bat. I was just coming from, you know, a little bit of drum and bass, which is chaotic in itself, to a whole new level of chaos. And this chaos I was not used to. This was chaos involving the real world, in which I tried to avoid. I tried to stay in my own little bubble, for better or for worse. And all of a sudden I'm hearing rambling on, something about the Jews and etc., and killing someone. And I was like, okay, this is clearly out of my comfort zone, but clearly the guy over here has some stories to tell. So I proceed to listen. And listen I did, not particularly to words, but more so of noises eluding from this man's mouth. A bunch of words that I would prefer not to repeat. And a bunch of sounds that roughly imitated the wildlife of Africa. So we reach our next stop. He waddles up. I'm still a bit confused and I'd just be nodding my head because I wasn't quite sure what to say. And he stumbles out of the bus, you know, catching his right foot on the step, stumbling out. And as I drive by, I see this man continuing on his journey of life, stumbling around on a Wednesday evening at 11 o'clock and just talking to more people as he had to me, making me wonder what on earth is going on in this world, this big city. So that's the end of that story. Not anything too interesting, rather just crazy circumstances that seem to occur far too frequently on public transport. Now the second one is a bit more vulgar and again happened on public transport. However, this time I was going to visit a friend, so naturally I took the train. Now the train is normally pretty decent. There's a train called the Dart that goes along the coast, and the Dart is known to be a bit more grubby compared to the inland train. So I'm on the Dart going down to see my friend, and all of a sudden I catch in the glimpse of my eye someone standing up on top of a seat. So naturally that's a bit of a strange thing to see, and I didn't really think much of it, but I did decide to watch, as it would be great visual entertainment to accompany my audio entertainment when I was listening to music, of course. It's the good thing to do on public transport, watch the world pass by while listening to a good soundtrack. However, this time, the watching the world go by turned out to be a man standing on a seat. So I was watching him gradually, and all of a sudden, his hands lowered to his short area. Now, this is where it got a bit concerning, because I knew for a fact he wasn't going for his pockets, but my eyes were stuck to him. I was very intrigued at his next move, because I had a general idea of what was about to occur, because I had heard stories of a similar thing happening. So this fellow proceeded to undo his top button, zip down his pants, and whip out the thing that should not be named. Now, from there, I was a bit concerned because this could become incredibly uncomfortable. However, it turns out my guy just really needed to relieve himself. So, as you do, a small puddle began to appear on the floor of the train, which is very disturbing, a bit disgusting to be completely honest. However, the comedic relief of the puddle was quite amusing. As the train moved, the puddle proceeded to move with the train as well, almost like a piece of jelly jiggling up and down according to the momentum of the moving object. So he proceeded to finish his business, get out at the next stop. However, he had left a treat for all oncoming and going passengers, a little puddle of joy, or in this case, a puddle of despair. It was grotty, very grotty. I made sure to mind my step when I got out of the train. Again though, it just really showed the circumstance and the randomness of living in a big city, which I am not used to, something I've never experienced. Obviously I've experienced some craziness in my life, however, not to the extent I've seen and in the frequency I've seen in a big city, which makes me question the ethics and morals of the big city dwellers. And I should not lower my stand. I should try to maintain my small city person morals. Anyway, I thought those were two pretty interesting and funny little situations I managed to find myself in. Thanks for watching, hope you enjoyed, and we will see you tomorrow, next time.